We're in for a treat today for our luncheon speaker, and this luncheon was sponsored by our friends at CenturyLink, and nice that they left some goodies behind. And it's my pleasure to introduce Carrie Zimmer, our friend at CenturyLink. And Carrie is Marketing Development Manager for CenturyLink for Eastern Washington. She is responsible for media, marketing, sales, promotion, PR, in retail and consumer efforts east of the Cascades. She's been with CenturyLink for 4 years, has done 25 years of marketing, PR, and sales. So please give a warm welcome to CenturyLink and Carrie Zimmer.
Thank you, my dear. Thank you.
All right, Carrie.
Thanks, David. And again, thank you for this great event. So many great connections, so many great people to meet. So we're thrilled to be sponsoring lunch today. And I thought I'd just take a minute to give you an update or maybe information about CenturyLink that you may not know. We're not just the plain old telephone service, or POTS, as we like to call it in telecom lingo, any longer. In fact, we're celebrating our 85th year. 4 years ago, Quest merged with CenturyLink, and we've been able to kind of deploy a local model, so to speak. That's what sets us apart from every other huge telecom. So in just describing what we are, we're a cloud, managed office, co-location, data, hosting, disaster recovery, voice, and broadband corporation. We connect more than 20% of the world's internet traffic every day, with close to 50,000 employees worldwide. That makes us the third largest telecom in the US. That's great, you're thinking. What does that matter to me? Great, I'm glad you're the third largest telecom, but I'm in Walla Walla, so tell me something that matters. We have a local model, which means our team here in Eastern Washington, or wherever we do business, Hong Kong, Singapore, knows the local business and consumer landscape. We can connect you to IT solutions, whether you're the Walla Walla Clinic, who's one of our newer customers, or the Federal Election Commission. We also serve 98% of the Fortune 500 companies. So we have sales engineers and system designers and project managers and field technicians and support teams just to make your business successful. What I'd like to do just quickly is introduce some of the folks that we have here with CenturyLink. Sans Heinrichs is the area operations manager for this area. Would you just raise your hand? Eric Bomer is a salesperson with our team. We also have Toby Rasmussen, he's another salesperson. We have Cindy Strasser, who handles this area as well. And we have Randy Swearingen, he's the area supervisor for this market. And one of our guest speakers this afternoon is Jeff Meacham, and he is our cloud expert. If you want to have a conversation with Jeff, seek him out today, because he is a worldwide traveler and we never get him. So you'll see people just glomming onto him as he walks around. That's why our team is constantly next to him, because they never get to see him. So what we'd like to do is connect you to what's next, the reason we put those great connecting devices on your table. And what's next is a great speaker that we have for you today. Brad Worthley is an accomplished business consultant with over 40 years of management experience. He's also an internationally accomplished leadership, customer service, and motivational expert who's trained hundreds of thousands of people in a wide range of industries throughout the world. Brad teaches businesses how to consistently build and retain both customer and employee loyalty by changing their culture and not just their people. Brad is a consultant, trainer, and author of 4 books who works with small and medium-sized companies, up to some of the largest corporations in the world. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Brad Worthley.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that. Very nice of you. And thank you, CenturyLink. By the way, exceeding expectations, thank you very much. These are awesome, if you've never used these before, so that's exceeding our expectations right there. Thank you so much. You tied right into the theme today. Well, I'm actually a serial entrepreneur. I've created 7 companies over 40 years. And every single one of those companies that I started with the exact same philosophy. If I was sitting across the table from someone and they said, Brad, who's your competition? I could look at them in the eyes with absolute authenticity and say, we don't have any. And here's the reasons why. So what I'd like you to think about is, could you in your industry, in your world, be able to say that you have no competition and justify it to the person sitting across from you with 100% authenticity? Very difficult to do, especially in commoditized industries such as banking, real estate, and sometimes, service. The level of service we offer does separate us from our competition. It is our unique differentiating factor. And for those that have not seen me speak before or know much about me, actually my very, very first book 12 years ago was called Exceeding Customer Expectations, which is what we're going to be talking about today. The essence of the book really is that it's really important to execute what we do every single day. Whatever our customer expects from us, we must nail it. We must give it to them everything we've got. But it's the things that they don't expect that help us grow our business. So we'll talk about that a little bit today. My second book was called Speaking of Success. And you cannot have a service culture unless you have leaders that understand their role. You will never have it. 85% of the people that I meet who are in leadership roles, they're not actually leaders. They are still managing people. There's huge differences, and unfortunately, people who are still managing people, they don't know any different because they've never been taught any different. So my section in this book is about success in leadership and how we become leaders. And I wrote this book in conjunction with some people you may know. Ken Blanchard is a leadership expert, you might have heard of him. Jack Canfield wrote the Chicken Soup books. Stephen Covey, he wrote the 7 Habits. You've heard of him probably. I'm actually tired of these guys riding my coattails, to be honest with you, but I can't. Kidding you. My third book is called Simple Steps to an Extraordinary Career in Life. And I love this book because it's all about that inner saboteur that we all have. Have you ever had those moments when you want to start your own business and you start to take that first step forward and you hear a voice in your head that goes, but what if? But what if it doesn't work out? But what if it fails? That but what if monster. We sabotage careers, we sabotage our personal lives because that little voice in our head that is not real. And that's what this book is about. My newest book is called ADD is a gift, not a disorder, and if you don't have it, you should get it. And you're going to find out I'm ADD. So please keep shiny objects and squirrels away from me because I'm distracted. So let's go ahead and talk about exceeding expectations. And by the way, when I use the word customer, I want you to know I'm talking about everybody you interact with. It's whether it's your customer, whether it's your guest, whether or not it's your coworkers, whether it's your vendors, your supervisor, your employees. It's just a generic word for everybody that we interact with. So in a service culture, we normally have 3 different types. Well, in any business, actually, you've got 3 different types of customers. The customer, by the way, who we love and adore, they're called advocates. Advocates are people who come into our business, and we decide we're going to memorize their name. So when they walk in the door, we look up and go, hey, Brad, good to see you back again. And they go, wow, that felt really good. We do things that our competition is not willing to do. We build relationships with them. And by the way, early on, Ken talked about how we're all in the money business, and I agree with that. I want to take it even a step further, though. I will tell you that every single one of you in this room is in the relationship business. Every one of you. If you work in this hotel, you're in the hospitality industry, but you are in the relationship business. Don't kid yourself. If you work in this restaurant over here, you are in the restaurant industry, but you are in the relationship business. We all live and breathe by the relationships that we build. We do. Relationships, again, with vendors, with our supervisor, with our peers. We're in that business. If you're hiring employees, I'd like you to think next time, when the employee or this prospective employee that is in front of you at that moment, ask yourself the question, is this going to be a person who's going to build relationships for my organization? You need to find people who have the emotional intelligence to build relationships. That's how you build businesses. If you have people who are wonderful at building relationships, you end up with customers walking away from you who are advocates. And these people are not only fiercely loyal, the most important thing is they tell other people about their story. If somebody is not walking out of your business telling a story about something that you do, you're leaving money on the table. 80% of most businesses, they have this customer right here. They have what we call apathetic customers. Apathetic customers are satisfied. I come into your bank for money. I walk out with my money. I am satisfied, but I didn't have any great story to tell. I didn't have a great interaction with the teller or anybody else. It's a kiss of death. I hear my clients sometimes saying, we're trying to achieve great customer satisfaction. Satisfaction, again, is the kiss of death to me. because we leave too much money on the table. So ask yourself the question, do people walk away from me or out of our business and have a story to tell? If not, you're killing yourself. You're leaving a lot of money on the table. This is about 80% of most customers that walk out of most businesses. They walk out apathetic. They are indifferent to it. The last group, boy, they're not much fun. They're called assassins. These are people who walk out of your business and they have a story to tell as well. They love telling their story because they're trying to destroy your business. And of course, with today's businesses, what could an assassin do to damage your business today? Social media, yeah, Yelp. It's interesting. I had a client down the coast down in Oregon, and I went on their Yelp page. They had hired me, so I was going down to visit them, but I decided to go on Yelp and see what their reputation was. There was 200 Yelp postings. Every one of them lit them up. And I got to them and I said, have you seen your Yelp postings? They went, what is Yelp? It's the kiss of death. Make sure that you're watching your social media because damage control is very important for a lot of us. The way that you grow your business is you make sure you never leave assassins. You don't let anybody walk out of your business mad or angry. We want to be able to listen to them. The real key to business is taking this apathetic group and doing something different, something unique. Because if you want an extraordinary business, you're going to have to do some extraordinary things. You will. It just makes sense. If you want an extraordinary life, you're going to have to do things that are extraordinary. A lot of people have ordinary businesses and ordinary lives, but what are we going to do differently than other people? Now, I'm fortunate to be able to travel through the world. And people say, Brad, who's the rock star? Who should we be emulating, or who do you think is the best at giving service? And to me, it's a little mom and pop organization called Les Schwab Tire Centers. How many, by the way, go to Les Schwab Tire Centers? Raise your hand high. Look around the room. Just look. Could you imagine having that kind of control and domination of an industry? When you ask the question, 90% of the hands go up in the room. That's amazing. However they do it. They never take their customers for granted. I didn't know much about Les Schwab Tire Centers except I was raised in the Northwest. I was raised up in Hoquiam on the coast. But I'd seen Les Schwab on TV all those years. He had his white rancher hat on, and he says, if you buy tires from me, I'm giving you beef right out of my freezer, right? He was the beef guy. That's all I knew. And so one day, this is probably 12 years ago, I'm driving south of Seattle. I had a flat tire. I looked up, there's the beef guy. So I went in and had my tire repaired. So when I went to pay for it, and some of you already know what's going to happen, but I did not. I went to pay for it, pulled my wallet out, and he says, how much do I owe you? And they said, Mr. Worthley, we don't want your money, but we'd like you to consider us for your future tire purchase. And I went, no, you're going to get my money. How much do I owe you? And they said, no, seriously. All we want you to do is just consider us. The next time you're shopping for tires, at least give us some consideration. So I drove away that day. What kind of customer did I become immediately? Advocate, right? Because I had a story to tell. I called my parents and they said, oh yeah, we've been going there for years. I called everybody I knew. I even called people I didn't know. That was weird. I'm calling people, telling this story, and so many people already knew the story. So again, all of a sudden, I'm an advocate. And of course, we use them. They're fabulous at what they do. They did the free beef, and then they do the flat tire repair. They'll fix anybody's flat tires, for free. They'll rotate your tires for free. They have the hot popcorn. I don't know about you, but I can go sit and eat popcorn there for hours, and I'm good. They have Seattle's best coffee. So they do all these wonderful things. But the interesting thing is that these things, again, happened over time. They never sit back. And by the way, they've dominated the business for years, but they've never sat back and go, we're good enough. It is, again, that's apathy. They're always saying, but what can we do tomorrow to be better than today? And that's a huge lesson I want you to learn from this organization. Now, probably about 8 or 10 years ago, I went in to have some brake work done. And I pulled in, just like up here. They have parking spots, but when I was going to park, the building is behind me. So I went to put my car into park, and I just glanced up in my rearview mirror, and I noticed there was a young man outside working on a car. I saw him look up at me, and I saw him throw his tools to the ground, and he came running full blast for my car. Now, I'm thinking my car's on fire. I'm out. But he showed up, and he opened up the door, and he greets me. And I thought, well, this is the most crazy thing I've ever seen before. So I went inside, and I sat, and I watched every single person that, every time a customer pulled in, somebody dropped their tools and raced for the car. The whole idea is they want to greet you before you shut your engine off. They want to greet you at your car door. Again, that seems insane to most of us. How could you possibly ask your employees to do something like that? I actually asked the young man that was waiting on me. He was probably about 23 years old, and I says, what was that like when you found out you're going to have to run for a car? He says, oh, are you kidding? I'm trying to get work done. Every time a customer pulls in, I've got to drop my tools and run for a car. That's not good news. He says, but after a few days of doing it, he says, then I found out what was in it for me, and then it was okay. I says, well, what did you find out? He says, well, it got to be so darn much fun to run to the car, whip that door open, and see that customer looking at you like that. He said, that was fun. He says, I found out, he says, the better I treated the customer, the better they treated me. And that's really what's in it for us. Hire people who enjoy other people, again, to build relationships. And by the way, this is Mill Creek, Washington. I pulled in probably about 8 years ago and I said, I talk about you all over the world. I'd love to be able to get a picture of one of you running to the car. 6 of them sat out in the parking lot arguing about who was going to get to do it. Finally, the manager comes out and goes, oh no, it'll be me. So this is your manager. The cool part, if you look carefully, he's not even touching the ground. He floated to the car. That's awesome. By the way, in their website, if you look at their website, they've actually got reader boards and stuff. And the wonderful thing I love about this organization is what message do I get from this? And those that go to them, you know what I'm talking about. They hustle. You see when they're working on cars, they're moving fast, right? What's the perception that we get as customers when they do that? Hurry for me, you're getting done quick. You have respect for my time. You know that sitting here and eating popcorn is only going to last so long. You know that I've got a life. Time is the thing we can't get back. And when I see them hustling, it just tells me that they care. And the other thing is, if my wife goes in to have some the brakes checked, when she calls me and says, they tell me I need new brakes, guess what? I say, put them on, because I trust them. I don't always trust car dealerships. I don't. Or a lot of places that do car work. They've earned my trust over the years. And I love working with them. So what I want you to learn about this organization is you must be willing to do things that others are not willing to do. If you expect to have the things that most people don't, which is control and domination of your industry. Once again, if you want to have an extraordinary business, because most aren't, but if you want to be extraordinary, you're going to have to be willing to do some extraordinary things that no one else is willing to do. And that's what they've been willing to make for their employees. And by the way, organizations that ask more from their employees, they don't have higher employee turnover, because a lot of people get worried about asking the employees to do too much. They're afraid they're going to have high turnover. People will quit. It's quite the opposite. Employees, again, that work for great organizations and great service cultures, they enjoy their job because they take pride in what they do. They actually have less turnover. So never be afraid about raising your service bar and asking more from people. You'll probably do them a great favor. They'll take more pride in what they do. Another organization that changed a little bit about the way we look at a particular industry was Safeway. How many Safeway customers in here, by the way? Safeway customers, look around the room again. Okay, now, again, it's kind of a commoditized industry because a lot of people have the same stuff in the grocery industry. About 12 or 13 years ago, the CEO said, let's start treating our customers the way that we personally would like to be treated. And they did what's called the 10 and 5 rule, was one of the first things that they instituted. They instituted, by the way, 4 things. But the 10 and 5 rule is very, very easy to understand. Anytime a customer gets within 10 feet of an employee, the employee is supposed to drop whatever they're doing and going to visually acknowledge you. There is no stock work that is as important as the customer. If you don't have customers, you don't need stock. So the whole idea is drop whatever you're doing and acknowledge visually your customer. When they get within 5 feet, you verbally acknowledge them. And for those of us that are Safeway shoppers, you're used to hearing it. You walk through the store and they will say, are you finding everything you're looking for? So that's the 10 and 5 rule. Now, when you do say, yeah, I need some string beans, well, in most grocery stores, they'll say, oh, that's aisle 21. Have a good day. Have a good life. Hope you find it. At a Safeway store, they have a no-point rule. You will never see a Safeway employee do that, ever. It is against their rules. Again, they'll walk right over to it, they'll pick it up, and they'll hand it to you, and you go, who does that? When you get to the cashier, they'll use your name. They actually have access, because most of us have a Safeway card. They'll actually stop and say, Mr. Worthley, thank you so much. But before they do that, they'll always make a fourth offer, which is to carry your groceries out. They'll say, Mr. Worthley, would you like assistance to the car? Most of us say no. But if you're a single parent with 3 young kids, it's a big deal. If you're a senior citizen, it's a big deal. So the thing I want you to learn from Safeway is it's not doing 23 things. You do not need to walk out of this room and do 23 things. They did 4 things really well. And by the way, they mystery shopped as well. You know what mystery shopping is? Secret shopping. They inspected what they expected, and they mystery shopped every single week, every single location to make sure that they're doing what they're promised. The worst thing you can do in any industry is make promises about your level of service and underdeliver. It is the kiss of death. So make sure you're always inspecting what you expect from your employees, and there's many ways to be able to do that. And again, it's sometimes, it's just the small things. That it's the wonderful thing about service. It don't have to be monumental. One thing, matter of fact, is a friend of mine who's also a professional speaker down in Atlanta. We were talking one time, we were at a conference together, and we were talking about how when you travel like we do, sometimes you get home, you unpack, and you're missing like the matching sock. You have no idea where in the world it is, or you're missing a t-shirt or underwear. And so we were laughing about it. 2 months later, he called me up, and he was in New York. He says, Brad, I was checking out of a hotel. I started thinking about it, and I might have stuff kicked under the skirting to the bed. So he says, what I did, he says, I actually got down on my hands and knees at this hotel I just checked out of. I decided to look under the bed, so I lifted the skirting up. I looked under the bed. Under the bed, there was a pyramid sign, kind of like this. And on the sign, it said, yes, we look under here too. I thought that was adorable. They should have a sign on top of the bed. Look under the bed, right? One of those great things that nobody sees, unfortunately. There's a restaurant in Bellevue, Washington. We're from Kirkland, by the way, in the Bellevue area. And my wife and I are carnivores. We love steak. So this John Howie Steakhouse, we had not been to it before. My wife said, let's go on a date. I said, fabulous. So I put on my suit. She put on a beautiful dress. We went out and had a date night. Food was awesome. Service was impeccable. But here's what happened that was kind of unique. The server's walking by our table. He's got a tray with some empty glasses on it, just heading for the kitchen. My wife stops him and says, excuse me, could you tell me where the restroom is? He turned around immediately, set the tray down. He walked over to her, put his arm out. She stood up, and they went walking out the door. And I thought, that is a handsome couple, which is weird. But it was interesting because it turns out the bathroom is out the hall, and it's down a hallway about 35 or 40 feet, and it's around another corner. So instead of telling people to do this, that was his thing. He just walked over. But again, it was memorable because, again, that's never happened in our years of ever going to a restaurant. It was pretty awesome. Now, when I had to go to the bathroom, sir, it's right out there, right down the hall, not to judge. Another restaurant story called Tandem Wine Bar and Restaurant. It's in Bothell, Washington. They're relocating to Woodinville, to wine country up there. So they're closed right now. But my wife and I went there one time, and we had a great meal. It was awesome. And their portions are huge. So at the end of the meal, I had quite a bit left over. I said, can I get something to take this home with? She goes, not a problem at all. Let me take that for you. She took the exact same plate that I ate off of and put some cellophane wrap around it and brought it back to me with the same plate that I had eaten off of. And she says, here you go. And I said, well, I don't want your plate. I just want the food. And she goes, no, you take the plate, and if you happen to be back in the area, you can drop it off. But if not, just go ahead and keep it. That's okay with us. And I thought, wow. So I got home, of course, the next day, warmed the food up. I ate it, threw it in the washer, washed it up, put it by the front door, and I walked by it for like about 4 days staring at it. Now I've got integrity. I am not stealing somebody's equipment. So I finally looked at my wife and I said, hey, you want to go have dinner there tonight? We'll just take it back. She goes, sure. We took it back, had dinner. Guess what we walked out with? Another damn plate. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We still got 2 plates sitting by the door right now. Here's a restaurant that could have had me like 4 times a year visiting. Now we go about every 2 weeks to return plates. Brilliant. Awesome, right? That's innovative. But that's the very first person that said, I'm willing to give up a $3 plate just to get you back in here for another $200 meal. But that's what I'm asking of you. I want you to think outside the realm of normalcy. And so much of, exceeding people's expectations is about perception. And the customer's perception is the only perception that really counts. We have a lot of perceptions about our business, but the customer may not agree with them. Example, if I walked into a bank and there was 5 teller windows, there's 4 tellers in the windows working diligently to bring down the lineup of 15 customers waiting for help. There's 1 window that is open. There is nobody in it. There happens to be a branch manager standing behind the tellers doing some busy work. Guess who all 15 customers are staring at? Right? The manager. They're looking at the manager and the empty window. Manager, window, manager, window. They're getting all fired up because they're thinking, wait, you see this line out here, and if you've got an extra window and you're behind these people, you've got to be qualified to be one of them. Now get your rear end up in this window and bring the line down. And this happens a lot with like utilities where they maybe have a counter out front. They got a big counter and they got 2 employees working the counter, but we can see rows of cubicles, hundreds of employees behind, and we're not moving the lines down fast enough. And we're wondering, What about one of these people in the cubicle back here? Why don't they get their tail up here and help bring it down? So our perception drives our reality. It drives our level of anguish sometimes and anxiety. If you went into a restaurant, you want to have a fine dining experience, you walk up to the front doors, it's got glass doors, but the glass, there's fingerprints all over the door like it hasn't been cleaned for a couple weeks. What's your perception of the restaurant? Right? It makes sense. You think, if you can't take care of the stuff I can see, what are you doing to the stuff that I can't see? See, that would concern me. If you're not paying attention to the details, then what's the kitchen look like? And so again, our perception drives reality. We decide, not going here, it's a pit. The reality might be is it might be fabulous food, but I'm not going to take a chance on it with my family. So your business, when we walk into your business, what perception do we get? When I walk in the front door of your business, look around, what do you see from the customer's perspective? Now, a friend of mine named Tom Asacker, he wrote a book called Sandbox Wisdom. And he had a cute story in there that I'll paraphrase for you for time. But it's a story about a little girl riding around a pickup truck with her grandfather. As they're riding through town, grandfather says, the little girl says, Granddad, could we get some candy at the candy store? Granddad goes, absolutely. So they pulled up downtown where he thought the candy store was, but he looked and there was a candy store on this side of the street, but there was also a candy store on this side of the street. So he asked the little girl, well, which candy store do you kids go to? Little girl says, we always go to one on this side of the street. She's a really nice lady because she gives us extra candy. He thought, well, that is sweet. He goes, how about the store over here? Little girl says, she's a mean lady because she takes candy away from us. That's odd. So they go into the nice candy store. They order half a pound of her favorite hard candy. This lady was nice. She took a small scoop of the candy, she put it up on the scale, and she took small handfuls, and she brought it up to a half a pound and put it in the bag and gave it to the little girl. They walked out happy. But grandfather's really curious about this store that takes candy away. So they went into this store as well. This lady was nice. She had the exact same candy at the exact same price. However, when she put it up on the scale, she took a large scoop and put it up on the scale. And she took small handfuls and brought it down to a half a pound. If you didn't get this, you'll get it right around midnight. It's awesome. Kidding. They're just watching the kid's hand. They're just watching the hand of the kids are watching the hand. This one's going up to the scale. They're thinking, bonus time. See this one coming off the scale? She's ripping us off. This store's making tons of money. This store over here is going out of business, and they can't figure out why. And it's simply just because of their behavior. As innocent as it is, what are some of the things that we do that are innocent, but they leave different perceptions? An example is if you see a customer who needs assistance, and you come walking towards them this way, what message do you send? Yeah, indifferent, I don't care about you or your needs, but when you walk towards them this way, what do you say? It says there's urgency, you're urgent. Simply the gait of our walk can sometimes change our perception of you immediately. Bless you. If you go to a car dealership and the salesman's not looking at you in the eyes, what's your perception of the car salesman? Shifty, shady. Everybody always thinks it's integrity. The minute it's either integrity or a lack of confidence. So is it possible that in your business, you might be hiring people, again, who just, whether or not it's the way they were raised or however, maybe they're not good at giving really good eye contact and they're leaving misperceptions about your organization's integrity or the lack of confidence. Is that a possibility? These are the things you must watch out for, in the hiring process. Look for people who build relationships and carry themselves with confidence. Otherwise, we will sometimes develop misperceptions. Now, I want to give you a perception test. I'm going to put a paragraph up here for you. I'd like you to read it for me. It'll take you about 20 seconds. And as you're doing it, I'd like you to count the number of F's. How many of the letter F are there? And I'm going to come around and ask some of you how many you got. Why don't you go ahead? Let's see, let's ask people. How many did you get, by the way? 33? 33? We're 32. It's okay. 32? 34? How many you get? 32? Didn't count? 32? Okay. One of you is wrong, at least. No, I'm kidding you. We all look at, there's probably right now in this room, probably 20 different perceptions about what you see. Probably anywhere between 23 and about 34, somewhere in that area. So I'm going to give it to you again. I'm going to help you cheat this time. So try it again this time and see what you come up with. How many got 32 this time? Raise your hand. Okay. How many got 33? Okay. How many got 34? See, I help you cheat, and we still can't agree, right? All these perceptions. There was actually 34 the first time, and there was 34 the second time. So I didn't change it both times, but it's 34. My point here is if you have 50 customers that you interact with per day, how many different perceptions of you are there? 50. And that's why if you're going out, see, our perceptions are also unique and so different, that if in fact that again you're going out to simply just have your employees just meet the customer's expectations, you're going to end up very short. You're going to end up with a lot of apathetic customers and some assassins. Every single customer, every single time, 100%. You're not allowed to have bad hair days. If you put an employee on the floor who's in having a bad hair day or in a bad mood, that's your fault. You should never let anybody that's sick on the floor, anybody that says I'm having a bad day, just don't allow that. Every single customer, every single time, we must raise that service bar. And so much of this is because we are judging machines. Human beings in general are judging machines. I've been up here now about a half hour and you've been judging me. I'm okay with it because I've been judging each one of you individually as well too. We'll talk about it later one by one, by the way. So on the telephone, for example, when somebody calls and you say, thanks for calling CenturyLink, this is Brad, how may I help you? Well, what we're hearing is we can pretty much give a rip about you. That's what we can hear when we hear flat or monotone voices. We believe that you're either unfriendly, you're indifferent, or you don't like your job. Those are things that we get out of flat or monotone voices. Matter of fact, my biggest recommendation to you is in the hiring process, always make sure when you're hiring people, phone interview them first. If they're going to be on a phone, spend 5 minutes phone interviewing them. If you don't like their phone voice, why would you hire them and put them into a situation where you're setting them up for failure? Doesn't make any sense. 14% of how you're judged on a telephone, 14% is the words, the content of your message. But 86% of how you're judged is your voice inflection. It's the quality of your voice. So, the voice is very, very critical, especially, again, in calls. I work a lot with call centers and stuff, and it's very, very important for them to have that voice that sounds like they're smiling all the time. And you know that when you talk to people on the phone, you can tell if they're smiling over the telephone. You can absolutely tell. So watch out on the telephone. In person, 7% of how you're judged in person are the words you use when you're having a conversation with somebody. 38% though is the voice inflection. I'm standing in front of you, I see you, but I'm also listening to your voice inflection. I'm trying to see if it matches your words. I'm trying to validate what you're telling me. And 55% is what we looked like as we were talking, our presentation. They're looking at how we are groomed. They're looking at what kind of eye contact we provide. They're looking at, again, how we are dressed. They're paying a lot of attention to what they see. And I don't like doing dorky things, by the way, in sessions like this, but I just have one dorky thing I'd like you to do for me. And right where you're sitting, just hold your fist up like that. Just hold it right in front of you, everybody right now, and follow me very quickly. Throw it on top of your head really quickly. You look fabulous. Put it on your forehead now for me. Now put it on your chin for me. Now see, most of you have it on your cheek. That is your chin. Why Simon Says has worked beautifully for so many years, right? So do we trust our eyes or do we trust our ears? We trust what we see. So when you're having a conversation with somebody, you're doing a sales presentation, and you think they're sucked into every word coming out of your mouth, no, they're not. But they are paying attention to what they see. They're looking at your brand. We talked, that got brought up earlier today. I think Ken mentioned the brand. A lot of times, again, this is our brand, everything about us, and that's why it's very important. The reason that we don't listen to each other, the reason that we trust what we see, is that we as human beings are built very poorly for listening. Besides those of you who've already heard me talk about this subject matter, has anybody else in this room ever heard of what's called a reticular activating system? Few of you. Normally, if in a room of 1,000 people, you might see one hand that sneaks up just a little bit. You've heard of it, not quite sure where. The reticular activating system is something you all have. It's located right back in your brain stem. It's a bunch of loose neuron fibers that run up through the brain stem, and they span out like tree branches to different parts of your brain. What this does is it filters in things that are important to you, and it filters out things that are unimportant to you. If you went out tomorrow shopping for cars, you all of a sudden see a white Hyundai and you go, man, I've not seen any of these around. I'll have the only one in town. It's going to be awesome. So you buy the white Hyundai. Have you ever noticed you'll see every white Hyundai now on the freeway for 5 miles around? You didn't care at all yesterday. You never saw any of them. But all of a sudden you buy one, and all of a sudden now you happen to notice it. If you're a woman, you've got a baby in the next room. It's in a bassinet. You don't even have a monitor, but that baby is so important to you that you'll hear everything that child does. You'll filter everything. You will hear it roll over. You will hear it breathe. You will hear it blink. You will hear everything it does. Your husband is laying right next to you, sawing logs. He hears nothing because his reticular activating system says, she's got it. Am I lying? Mm-mm. Nope. How many of you been driving down a freeway? All of a sudden you wake up. You've been like daydreaming for 10 minutes. You wake up after this daydream and you don't remember any part of your drive. Doesn't that terrify you? You're a 3,000-pound missile flying down the freeway at 60 miles an hour. You don't remember anybody passing you, you passing it, cars, the song on the radio. You remember nothing. That's because the reticular activating system filtered it out. You ever sat in a high school or junior high classroom for an entire hour? You knew the teacher was there. You could see him walking around. You could even hear the teacher going blah, 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 blah. But after an hour, you walk out of class and you have no idea what you learned. You ever have that happen? Some of you have it going on right now. That's because anytime that the teacher's talking and you're not interested, it's called an interest deficit, is you filter the teacher out. Your brain literally says, stop the pain. And you will filter that teacher out, which means is you hear the teacher, but you're not listening to the teacher. That makes sense? Which is the reason why people with ADD do not do well in school. Our brain is processing like 10 times faster than most. Our brain never shuts up. It's called like our narrator. And those of us that have a narrator, we're sitting in a classroom, and if the teacher is boring, our brain takes off and just tries to fill the gaps and goes off to a happy place. And our brain is so active, that it shuts the reticular activating system off. We hear the teacher, but we go to take a test, we're getting C's and D's, can't figure out why. Because I was in class, I thought I was listening, but we don't. It's not really attention deficit, it's an interest deficit. We can be very, very interested if we're interested. So there's 3 different levels of listening that you need to be aware of: to be a fabulous salesperson, to be an amazing leader of people, or to be a great significant other or parent. Level 1 is the way most people communicate. Level 1 is if I'm having a conversation with you, what do you think your brain is thinking about? Instead of listening, what is it actually thinking about? What you're going to say back. You're thinking about how you're going to respond. Pay attention. The next time you're having a conversation with anybody in this room, pay attention to what your head is doing. It is already prefabricating what it's going to say back. You are formulating your response, which means is that you can hear them, but you're not actually listening to them. That's the way the majority of the people are that you're going to have conversations with. They are going to be doing that. They are talking to themselves, and that's why, again, they're paying attention to what they see, but they might not be hearing every word you say. Level 2 is what I call being present. Level 2 is as you are talking, I try to keep my head empty. The human brain's like a one-lane highway. You can either be putting thought out, or you can have your head empty and you can be taking information in. But the brain won't do both. You cannot be listening and processing at the same time. If you want to test it, stand face to face with somebody and tell each other a story for 30 seconds. Don't take a breath, don't take a pause, just tell each other a story for 30 seconds. When you're both done, try to repeat back what the other person said. You'd be hard-pressed to pick up much. So the brain, again, you've either got a choice. You can either be in listening mode, which requires your head to be empty, or in fact, you can be in mind chatter mode, which again will keep you from listening. So level 2 is very hard, by the way, to actually initiate. For the next 10 seconds, stop talking to yourself completely. How's that working for you? You guys are looking at me. Don't talk, you're talking again. Knock it off. It's very schizophrenic. So level 2 is very hard to achieve. Trying to keep your head empty is very hard. We have a lot of mind chatter, a lot of us. And if you're ADD, it almost kills you because you just can't shut that narrator up. So level 2, very hard to achieve, but again, it's better. Level 3 is the highest form of listening. This is where million-dollar salespeople are. This is the greatest leaders on earth are, the greatest parents and the greatest significant others. Level 3. Very few will ever achieve it. It's identical to level 2. It is the same as level 2. I am present with your every word. When you are speaking, I'm trying to keep my head empty and trying to stay right with you. However, I'm also going to be more intuitive now. I'm going to pay attention to what I see and also to what I hear. If I was checking out of this hotel, for example, and they said, Mr. Worthley, how was your stay? If I said, oh, it's fabulous. Well, you'd probably believe that to be true because, again, the voice and the words were very complementary of each other. They actually validated each other. But if I was checking out and they said, how was your stay? And if I said, oh, it was okay. Well, no, it's not. I said it was okay, but my voice inflection was in conflict, which means, again, there is a conflict. That's when that person behind the desk should reach out to me and say, Mr. Worthley, I bet we could have done more. Please, what would it have been? That's what we do. Sometimes you have very little information, sometimes just one word to help figure some of this stuff out. If your child comes home from school, and by the way, when your kids come home from school and you say, how was school? What's the one word that comes out of their mouth most of the time? Fine. I think they teach that in school because every kid comes home and uses the word fine. They give you one word. So my son would come home, I'd say, how was school? He'd go, oh, fine. See, that sounds good to me. The word fine, the voice inflection, very supportive. I'll say, go to your room, have a party. Now, sometimes he'll come home and I'll say, how was school? He'll say, oh, it was fine. I can tell it's not. The word fine was in conflict with the inflection. So I'll say, you know what? Come on to my office, have a seat. Let's talk it out. Of course, he got me figured out. Then after a while, he'd come home. I'd say, how was school? He'd say, Father, it was a fabulous educational experience, and thanks for asking. What? Go to your room. Sometimes you have to watch out for what you see as well. So if you're talking to someone and their eyes roll up, you know, when someone's eyes go, huh, what do you think's going on in their brain? They're processing. Anytime you see eyes roll up, they're normally visual learners. They need to visualize your message. They look up because it's clear space. There's too much distraction down here. So when someone's eyes roll up, you know immediately they're processing. Why would you continue to talk to them? They're not listening to you, so stop. Let them process it. So those are some of the things that we can do to be better listeners. Listening, we are built very poorly for it. We don't do it well at all. But it is, you know, and by the way, how many of you have a difficult time remembering other people's names when you meet them? How about majority of you do? You want to know why now? Because when you're walking up to introduce yourself to somebody, what are you thinking about? What you're going to say. Normally, you're thinking about what you're going to say. You're thinking about your name, what you're going to say. So when they say theirs, you've got too much mind chatter, which means you blocked it. You heard their name, but you didn't retain it because you were so busy thinking about your name. I got an idea. I think you know your name pretty well. Don't spend that much time on it. Just spend time. Don't think about what you're going to say. You know your name. Just focus on what they're going to say. My wife, by the way, is absolutely, this is my wife, Melanie, over here, by the way. Is it okay if I throw you under the bus? Yeah, this is a great story. So she was going to this guy who owned all these hardware stores, very, very, you know, he's a business guy that had, you know, more private jets, had the whole thing. So she's very nervous. She's going to this dinner at his house with a bunch of other executives. And she'd taken a Dale Carnegie course, and so Dale Carnegie teaches you, hear the name, repeat the name, and so hear the name, say the name, and repeat the name. That's it. Hear the name, say the name, repeat. So all the way there, she's repeating this. Hear the name, say the name, repeat the name. And she's got it going on in her head. She gets up to the door. He opens it up and goes, hi, Melanie. She goes, hi, Melanie. Oops. That's adorable. It really was. So some of the things that we can do to change people's perceptions, we want to exceed people's expectations. Of course, the name builds relationships. Again, if you're not a good name user, make sure you try to remember names. And that's the reason I told you why a lot of us don't remember names really well. It is very important to us. When we walk in, you say, hey, Brad, great to see you again. There is something about that. Again, it's like going to Cheers. Remember the song from Cheers? Everybody wants to go where everybody knows their name. And there's a lot of truth to that. We can also use what we call pedestal words. Pedestal words elevate the guest or the customer's experience. 20% of you in this room, when you are thanked, when someone says thank you to you for helping them, 20% of you are going to respond back automatically with the words no problem. They're going to say thank you. You're going to go, oh, no problem. You know, I didn't know I was a problem. That doesn't make me feel great about you, knowing that I was in line to be a problem. So avoid the word no problem and replace it with what we call a pedestal word. When someone says thank you, you look at them and say, it's my pleasure. What it does, it elevates their status. It makes them feel VIP. It also changes how they feel about you almost immediately. Ritz-Carlton is fabulous about this, obviously. You know, you call in, can I talk to reservations? It'll be my pleasure to transfer you. You don't mind spending $700 for a room at that point. No kidding. So there are things we can do. Instead of how can I help you, it's may I help you. If you have to ask a customer to sign a document, and a lot of you do, instead of saying, here, please sign this for me, which is fine, I would always stop and say, I would appreciate it if you could sign this for me. I want to make sure we have choice. Never say anything that makes it sound like we have to do it. I want to make sure that I have choice in the decisions I make. I'm going to have you read one more thing because I've got to wrap it up here. I'm almost out of time, about a minute. But I do want you to read one more thing for me. And the great news is you don't have to count anything. And my sincerest apologies for those of you who are dyslexic in this room. Like, life wasn't hard enough as it was, right? Well, you can see there's just one key out of sync. But in your organization, if you've got 15 or 20 employees in your organization, if you just allow one person mediocrity, that's one too many. Anytime you allow one employee to, again, act in a mediocre way, you just told all the other employees in the organization that it's acceptable to you. You're willing to accept mediocrity. I know some of you are saying, well, I've had the same person for 25 years. They're just grumpy. You're killing people. You're killing your business. Mediocrity is absolutely unacceptable. And the reason is one person makes a big difference. Let's just say you walked into a hardware store. And again, I got nothing against Lowe's. This is just a fabricated story. But if you walked into a Lowe's hardware store, for example, and you had a bad experience with one employee, how many of you walked out of there and said, we're never doing business with Lowe's ever again? You got home, you told your family, we are never shopping at Lowe's ever again. You went to a party that night with your friends. You said, gather around, we're talking about Lowe's. We get to be assassins, right? So it's interesting that we will destroy an entire corporate brand because of the act of one. One employee can send us out of your door, and we will hold it against your entire organization. We will. And that seems like it's very, very unfair, but that's the way it works. So never allow mediocrity. And John Maxwell, who's also a professional speaker, a lot of you may know, he said it really, really well. He says, you know, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Your customers, your guests, whoever they are, your clients, they want to know how much you care about them. And sometimes it's as simplistic as simply just being a better listener going forward, trying to stay right with their every word and show them how much you care. Throwing a pedestal word in every so often to show them how important they are in your world. So it doesn't require a lot of things, but there are a few things that are important. And by the way, I've got to wrap it up, but if any of you, I have a monthly newsletter that I send out a lot. How many subscribe to my monthly newsletter right now? Quite a few of you, okay. I send out twice a month. I send out 3 customer service tips and 3 leadership tips. If you'd like to be signed up for it, please bring your business card up and leave it on our table up here. If you don't have a business card, all we need is your first name and your email. And we've got some blank cards if you'd like to fill those out as well. And if I can come to your business and assist you in leadership development, or customer service training, that's all I do for a living, is I travel and I work with organizations to help change the behavior of the organization. If I can assist you, please let me know. And I did have the books up here, by the way. This book, the Exceeding Customer Expectation, has everything I talked about today and about 10 times more in it. And all the books up here on my website at $24.95, but they're here for $20, so they're $5 savings if you want to get them. And if you want to train your employees, I actually have the 2-hour version of what I just did. We've got a 4-DVD set. It's my live seminar. It's very fun, very animated. You can set your employees down in front of a computer or TV, and you can train as many employees as you want. This is $395 on my website. If you do want to purchase that here, I'll also give you the 2 others, my Turning Managers into Leaders, which is also $395 for free, and also How to Coach Your Employees, Peers, and Supervisor. This is also $395. You'll get them for free. So you just buy one, and you get the other 2 for free, so it's $800 savings. And we do take credit cards, check, cash, or really good wine. I'm here for a reason. I'm here for the wine, okay? I'm negotiable. So I want to thank you all so very much for inviting me down. And David, thank you so much, because this is my 2nd time down here. I got to be to the first one, I think it was. And I really, the fact you're all here, it really just tells me about the quality of you in this room. You do want to learn more. A lot of people are very shut off to learning, and the fact you're here and you want to retain more speaks very highly of all of you in this room. So thank you all very much for allowing me time. Appreciate it.
That's great. One more time for Brad Worthley. Next.